Hello everybody, I'm Lara, and as was said, I'm a social worker with over some now 30 plus years of experience serving children and families. And who I am today is not who I was when I graduated, not even who I was 5 years ago. And I hope who I am 5 years from now is not who I am today, because only dead people are standing still in time. And I hope never to be one of those, at least not anytime soon. I've learned some lessons along the way. In my training, like many social workers, we learn the importance of cognitive knowledge, learning about the profession, skills that we would need to do this work, to serve others. And while the area that I focused on initially was gerontology, I quickly realized that whatever the needs of people as they came in the door were, I had to prepare myself. So besides my professional learning, had to have continuous ongoing education. One of the areas that I did not plan to work on was addiction. And the topic today is the resurgence of hope with addiction, from a personal perspective as well as from the people that I serve. I grew up, like many social workers, learning that if you had an addiction, alcohol or drugs, you either went to Alcoholics Anonymous or you went to Narcotics Anonymous and some type of counseling. And we're set in that little box. But things happen, like the bumper sticker as you move along through life. And I was one event that happened in my life that I got an aha moment was an award ceremony that the National Association of Social Workers was giving me. And I brought up my mom. She flew up here from Texas, and my staff was there. We had a big table from the Children's Hospital, and everybody was very happy. And my mom was there interacting with folks. And in walks this gentleman with long hair, young white guy. And my mother, like she forgot where we're at, she just speaks and says, "Look at that man with that long hair. Ooh, I wanted the earth to swallow me, And I said, "Mom, where?" And she goes, "Look, he could have at least put his hair in the bun for this event." And so knowing my mom, I quickly reframed everything and kind of changed the topic. And I said, "Well, I've got to go up to the podium." So I move up to the stage, and lo and behold, here comes this gentleman with the long hair, and he sits right next to me. So I introduced myself, and I said, "Oh, are you a social worker?" And he says, "No." "Are you getting an award tonight too?" He goes, "Yes." And I go, "Oh, what is your work?" And he said, "I write with the Hells Angels." That was interesting. And I go, "Oh, what is your work with the Hells Angels?" And then he tells me his story, that he's a recovering addict, and that he goes with them writing so that maybe if one day one of them wants to change their lifestyle, that hopefully they can learn something from him and not go through the same challenging steps that he went through. So my youngest brother is an addict, and we've certainly had our struggles in our family with him. And so I said to him, "Could I ask you a personal question? Because we still have time up there." And I said, "How did you finally stop?" Because my brother says it is very hard. And he says to me, "Because your body begins to hurt, you have so much pain, and you just want it to stop. And so you go in to a center, and then they begin asking you a lot of questions and telling you a lot of things what you got to do." And I'm listening and feeling things, myself as a social worker. As he's talking, I'm seeing and remembering things. And he says, and then I try to do what they tell me. I try to do everything they say, but then I had a setback. And then I would go back to what I knew. My family would reject me. They would get mad at me. They tell me I was lying. I just wanted to trick them to get more money from them. And I go to what I know. And then I'd go to that point again. And then I would go into another place. And the same thing. And I would go again. And after a while, these people at these centers would say, you know what, you're not a real candidate for this program. You know, you're unsuccessful, you're not serious about this, and we need to save our beds for the good clients. And as he's talking and telling me this, like real quick, I am getting so emotional. I can hardly even concentrate on why we're there. And he's going on and he said, but finally one day I went into this place and these young little kid, he couldn't have been like maybe 22, a new graduate, I guess. He didn't know the program yet, what the protocol was for him to do. And he asked me something nobody had ever asked me. He asked me, what do you like to do, man? And I thought, I'm gonna tell him because you know what? He's probably not even gonna take me. And I told him, I like to tear down my hog's engine and put it back together, his motorcycle's engine. And the guy said, wow, that is really cool. You know, that takes a lot of intelligence. Do you think that you may want to teach some of the other guys here how to do that? Because you can have a whole life with that. That is really special. And he said to me, and I was liking this so much, I thought, I might even cut my hair for this dude. And I said, do I have to cut my hair? And he said, no, man, unless you want to. And he said, and that is the place that I healed myself. And I couldn't wait to go in the car and talk to my mom after the meeting. You know, not to scold her, but to tell her, Mom, we have been part of this problem of my brother Renee's addiction. I said, we have been part of this problem because I have always said, practice where people's strengths are. Don't try to tell them how to change what's wrong. Look at what's right going with them right now. And if the only thing is that they had the courage to come in to ask for help, then that's where you start. It took a lot of courage to walk in here and ask for help. And even if you have a setback, we can tell the person, like tell my brother, look, you were clean for 2 weeks. Don't get down on yourself. We're here for you. Maybe next time it'll be 2 months. This problem of addiction is everywhere. It's not, I have many, many friends, and almost all of them know somebody that has a problem with addiction. And the current model of NAAA doesn't always work for everybody. What does resonate with that is that you have to have a belief that you are worthy of something, that you can do something, that you do have a purpose. And that's where my brother Renee comes in. And so there began a change for our family, how we related to him. By this time, he had disappeared for 5 years because he felt shame, because he wanted to change. And here all of us are always on him about, why don't you do this? Why can't you do this? Go to this place, you know? And it was very, I say nothing happens by accident, but that Christmas, my mother was visiting me in Detroit, and the FedEx came with 2 big packages. There were 2 beautiful paintings, oil paintings. My brother had started writing and told us he was in prison for crimes related to drugs, trying to get drugs. Like many of the people that are addicts wind up with in jail for small property crimes. Well, anyway, he tells us he's painting. Both my mother and I were hurt. The process after someone hurts you is you don't immediately just bury yourself. You're afraid that you're going to be hurt again. So it's normal that at the beginning you're not giving in. But when we saw those paintings, this is how close we were. Both of us said at the same time, he didn't do those paintings. He just is trying to trick us, and in a minute he's going to ask us for money. I know many of you have been there, you know, because as I talk around the country, people tell me this, oh, that's how I was, or that's how I am. And so that was December. Around January, I woke up one night and I thought, oh my God, what does it matter? What if he didn't paint those paintings? What if he didn't write those beautiful letters? At least he cared enough to do that for me. I will start at that point and begin to write to him. And there developed a beautiful relationship because we come from the same parents. But you know what? It's like these 5 fingers. They come from this hand, but look how different they are. And so sometimes because we're related by blood, we think we know each other. When we live on other sides of the country, we don't know each other. We don't know who we are. We barely know who we are. And so you have to talk with each other. But the beauty of writing letters back and forth was that when he wrote me something, I couldn't right away stop him and say, oh, no, you don't. You didn't do that. No, you did this. No, I had to read the letter in the context that he wrote it. And then I would respond to him. And he shared with me, because I wanted to know, how did this happen that you began to paint? And when he started to paint, he painted things that reflected the process of self-awareness, of dealing with those painful memories. Like he painted this painting of himself, a self-portrait where he is in jail and you see the men in the back chained. It's like chained by guilt. And my mom, the mother, always in the background, the pain that they must have caused their mom. And then he painted conflict among generations, where you see the elders, they're dressed in black because they're grieving the youth. They don't know what to do, how to reach them. The chain, the flames symbolize HIV, early incarceration, teen pregnancy, dropout from school, and what comes with that. And so it was his process of like trying to look back at where he had come from. And then to a later stage where he began with pride to paint good things in our culture, like Selena and many other paintings that I will show you in a little bit. But it was like a process, and I said to him, how did you do this? I had no idea. And he said to me, you know, I met a man here in jail, Larry Ross, a black Muslim, and everybody knew his story. He had been accused of killing a police officer, which he did not do. And a lot of people in the community were writing letters, but Larry had no rage or anger, and my brother was always angry. And he said, and I would cuss at him and say, what's wrong, you're stupid, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he would always say, Renee, why don't you just come to the craft shop? You know, let me show you this art, it will help you. Because art is like a religion. It helps you to cleanse yourself, to paint the pain away, or to help you to get in touch with things that you've shoved down. And he said, and as I went mostly because I liked being around Larry. There was a peace about him, and I wanted that, but I didn't know that at the time, but I liked to be around him. He said, and there in the craft shop, I started to paint, and I liked it, and I started to read like 30,000 hours of reading the great masters. And then the guys would say, Renee, you're not like the rest of us. You have a gift, Renee, you have a gift. He said, I would just say, oh, they're just BSing me. He said, but at night I would think, what if the person that I always thought I was, that people told me I was, what if that's not really who I am? And what if the real person is this one? And he said, and I realized that I could be this person right here in jail, that I could live my authentic life right here and do things that I was supposed to do. So he started to work for the warden to paint things. First, he would just paint buildings or paint rooms and things. And then other people, as they see the consistent behavior, started inviting him. Renee, the high school is going to have a prom theme of Hawaii. If we brought you canvas, could you do this? And they would work with him and he'd do it. Or religious leaders would come and say, listen, could you paint this, the Blessed Virgin or Jesus? And he would do it, you know? And he said, and then I realized I'm living my life. It doesn't matter if I'm here or out there, but I'm living my life. And through the art, I have helped other people here to decide not to kill themselves. They were suicidal before, and they decided not to do it. And it goes back to that people can heal themselves. We don't heal them. But a big part of it is service. That's not just you, but service for others from the heart. And also that part of that healing is a belief that you are worthy of love. Now, look how far the guy with the long hair, I don't even remember his name anymore, what good he's done. I told my mother that story, and a lot changed in our relationship in our family with Renee. Unfortunately, he doesn't do drugs. He used to do them right there in the jail, because I know you can get drugs in the jail, but he has been clean for a very long time. And I was invited by a psychologist to talk to a group of what I thought were grieving parents of newly lost children. And when I get there, it was a very different group of older couples, of single men, single women, and I thought, wow, this is not like my regular children's hospital kind of group. So then when he introduced me, he said some very grandiose things, and I felt embarrassed. I thought, I don't want these people to think I know everything. I'm going to tell them how I am a student like them. And I told them this story of my brother, how I had rejected him because he had hurt us, and how I had to forgive myself and have a talk with myself that, you know what, this is not about me. This is about Renee. And that if I forgive him and if he has a setback, it's still okay. It's not about me. He didn't do it to me. He didn't make a fool out of me. He is a human who is struggling with an illness. And so I told him that story. And this man there, this is many years back, 25 years exactly now, this man, Fabian, was in the group. And he gets up after I talk, and he said, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, I did not want to come to this group today, but this lady, and he pointed to the lady he walked in with, an older lady who sat in another place from where he sat. He said, she comes about twice a week with her Bible to talk to me about the Bible, and she brings me sandwiches. And today it was snowing, and she asked me, would I please accompany her, because she was afraid to drive all the way out here to Canton from Detroit. And I really thought about saying no, because I had plans to go get drugged tonight, but I thought, then I won't have food, because addicts, their priority is the drugs, and they often don't have food. And he said, so I thought, well, I can still party afterwards. And it was very moving. And he said, but I feel that this was meant to be, and I can't believe that you very fine professional people have allowed me in your house. Like we had done something extraordinary. And he said that you've allowed me to sit here, and that you didn't even let me take my shoes off, that you let me walk in here and sit down with my shoes on. He said, I want to promise you all tonight that I will never do drugs again. And I am going to work to help other people and to try to bring my family back to join me from California, because the wife and the 2 children, she had taken them to California. Well, I have to tell you, in my head, I thought, oh, he's just inspired tonight, but by tomorrow he'll forget. Unless he goes to NA, this is not going to work. That's what I'm thinking in my head, being honest. But guess what? 25 years later, this man did not go to NA or AA, and he is sober. He is a leader in his community, walking the streets like that lady, helping other people through telling his story. So the same thing, through service and finding that he was worthy and that he could love, and that it might take time, and maybe his family would not accept him, but that he would go forth in honesty. And so this gentleman today is a very important member of the community here in Detroit. And so I say to you that it is important not to label people, because we're human beings. All of us fall down and all of us get up. But the problem is that all of us are at different places on that road of getting to know ourselves, of finding out who we are, of learning to be kind and loving to ourselves, to be able to forgive ourselves. I want to show with you just some of the paintings that my brother now has done. He's even painted famous people as well who are alive. But this is coming from a little boy that started as a child scribbling, just like doodling is what my mom would call it. And we didn't pay any attention to it, because when I think back, why did I think that was useless? I didn't even know how to draw a stick figure. Okay, why did I think that that was not something good? And I think that the importance is that we have to stop tearing people down, and we need to start focusing on what is good about the person, building up those things that they show interest in. Just like the guy with the long hair who said since he was little, his parents always told him, because he was drawn to bikes, you're going to grow up and be nobody but a Hell's Angel, doing no good. And why did that have to be a Hell's Angel? Because they had that in their head that if you're going to like bicycles, it must be related to that, because we're like slaves of the media. Everything that is out there, we just incorporate it without thinking that, no, look at what he's doing now. He is a counselor and uses his love of bikes to work with youth and teach a very good skill. So the importance is to look at people and look at where are they drawn to, where do they want to spend the majority of their time. So I will leave you with that life is a journey, and that if you have made mistakes in the past, the most important thing is to go back and try to correct them, and then to move forward and to live your life authentically with feelings, and not, as has been spoken before, where we try to push them down and to try to look perfect, because it doesn't work. I'll just tell you that. Thank you so much.